Mass graves are the only way to cope with the surge of deaths taking place here in Manaus, the capital of Amazonas state in the Brazilian Amazon. Limited testing makes it impossible to know how many people being buried here are actually victims of COVID-19. But the undisputed fact is that there are suddenly dozens more people dying every day than there were just a few weeks ago. And there's no reason other than the pandemic to explain this. Before the pandemic, this cemetery, the largest here in Manaus, had about 30 burials per day. Now, this number has risen to an average of more than 100 funerals daily. The 43-year-old husband of this woman was among the confirmed victims of COVID-19 buried here.
It's really sad. Some people say, I'm not gonna catch it, but those who catch it will suffer a lot if they have to rely on the public health system here in Manaus. Many people will die, many more. People are not dying because of the disease. They are dying because there are no meds and no equipment to keep them alive.
The public health system in the state has virtually collapsed, with public hospitals overwhelmed and nearly all intensive care beds taken.
I had to spend more than 1 hour with my 78-year-old father here in the ambulance, with him having difficulties breathing because they did not want to admit him. He actually had to go to the ICU because of his breathing, but there was no room, so he had to stay in the infirmary for suspected COVID cases.
Doctors working on the front lines here say they were stretched even before the pandemic.
Our intensive care unit is already poorly equipped and lacks professionals. It's tough. We do have to make choices on patients who will receive care. And some professionals are getting sick. Last night, for example, we had only 4 nurses for 14 patients because another 3 were at home because they are infected.
The governor of Amazonas admits that the situation is likely to worsen before it gets better.
Our hospitals are stretched to the limit, as are the funeral services. The number of cases have been growing rapidly, and I'm sure that the actual figures are much higher than those we officially report. And this is going to grow still much further, especially because of people who believe this is not so serious. Social distancing has to be respected.
It's not clear why the state of Amazonas and its capital Manaus became COVID-19 hotspots. International traffic brought by the existence of a duty-free zone here could be a contributor. Indifference to social distancing and other health guidelines are likely also playing a part. But regardless of the reasons, the consequences are here and will reverberate for some time. Paulo Cabral, CGTN, Manaus, Brazil.